Welcome to Securing America with me, Frank Gaffney, the program that's a kind of owner's manual for protecting the country we love against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to God's glory and that of his kingdom. We have been concerned for quite some time about what is happening to our country's, freedoms, our Constitution, and the degree to which it's being taken apart piece by piece by what seem to be cultural Marxists in our midst. The cumulative effect is to, as they're fond of saying, fundamentally transform America. To discuss what is going on, its implications, and what we best be doing about it, I'm always pleased to be able to have with us Dr. Michael Rectenwald. He is a former Marxist professor at New York University. He is a man who knows, as a result, from the inside, what these Marxists have in mind for us and how they operate. And he is always very thoughtful about how what we're seeing around us fits into these larger plans and doctrines. And I'm very pleased to have him with us always. Dr. Rectenwald, you have been pilloried, I think it's fair to say, by your former comrades in arms, and it's all the more reason why we really appreciate you and what you do to alert us to the danger they represent. Welcome back to Securing America, sir.
Great. Thanks for having me, Frank.
Let me start by asking you about a topic that I think has not gotten the attention that it deserves just yet, and that is the extent to which some of this fundamental transformation is taking place in our Congress. The specific case in point being the select committee that has been established by Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives to investigate the January 6th so-called insurrection. I'd be interested in how, as a former Marxist, you would look at what is being done with this committee, how it has conducted itself, how it's even been comprised, and in particular, the prosecution now of some who have, I think for perfectly good reasons, declined to provide documents that have been subpoenaed by the committee. It's not clear they have the right to subpoena them, but to subpoena those documents on grounds of executive privilege. Your thoughts about what's going on here? As it looms now, there's going to be a sort of spectacular, show trial, I guess, tomorrow night in the United States House of Representatives, where they start revealing the results of their research to date.
Okay, as the Marxists take over the state, and this was very common in the Soviet Union, what happens is you have the politicization of the justice system, of the system of justice, of the Department of Justice, and of course of all the federal police. And so this is what's happening here. We see a kind of Stalinization of the justice system and the criminal justice system in particular, such that having the wrong political views makes you a criminal and effectively casts you into a gulag of sorts. And this is, of course, what's happened to the January 6th participants in the so called insurrection. And it's happening to everybody associated with Trump in terms of their legal associations and so on and so forth. So, what we're looking at is simply politicization and the criminalization of political dissent.
Mm-hmm. And to the extent that that's what's going on, how does that fit into the larger project of a Marxist takeover of a country? How critical is it to the destruction, for example, notably of, most obviously, the democratic process of elections, freedom of speech, the rule of law itself, for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, this has a really, this kind of a show trial and this kind of arrest really is a premonitory signal being sent out by the state to warn people of the costs of dissent, So these people like Navarro and Roger Stone before him are really just scapegoats that are being used to show the public the dangers of dissent, of being a dissident from this political establishment. And this is very typical of what Marxists do.
Yeah.
They want to vilify any dissent and make it criminal in effect. And that's what we see taking place.
Yeah, instilling fear, and as you say, Peter
Yes,
Navarro is a former senior Trump advisor in the White
right.
House who has now been shackled and imprisoned briefly for not going along with these demands from the select committee. Um, but the fear is what is being inflicted on an awful lot of other people, not just, of course, the immediate object of it, Peter Navarro in this case. And to the extent that this becomes a centerpiece of the overall project, for want of a
Mm,
better term, of
mm.
compelling people to comply, to dispensing with the processes whereby laws are made, for example, the very fundamental principle that there is equal justice under the law, um, creates a sort of, well, an environment in which that fear is not only likely to be widespread but justified, does it not?
Oh, yeah, it's very justified because what they're doing is any political disagreement now, anything that varies from the political party line, the official party line, is basically criminalized. And this terrifies people, of course. They may become much more reticent to express themselves. We can see now that anybody associated with Trump or Trumpism or America First is basically afraid now to enter the public square. And this
Mm,
becomes impossible now that any kind of dissent from this Communist Party line is effectively criminal. So this is very, very chilling. This casts a very serious chilling effect across the whole country, and
yeah,
that's the purpose of it.
right. Um, there's another facet to this, I think, that seems to be going on simultaneously, increasingly against the backdrop of these various mass casualty shooting incidents, and
Hmm.
that is the disarming of the population.
Right.
And we're going to have to take a short break here in a moment. But Dr. Rectenwald, how does that figure into the plan of
Yeah.
those who seek to impose this transformation on the rest of us?
Yeah. I mean, confiscation of all weapons was one of the first things that the Soviet Union undertook under Lenin. So this doesn't even begin with Stalin; it began with Lenin.
Mm,
And this is a necessary way of, we must disarm the population to have a total hegemony, a total monopoly over power, which is
right.
exactly what is socialism amounts to. And so that, and these shootings are very suspicious. I don't want to say anything more about it, but um, the way they're driving the public crazy with the inversions of reality that are constant in our media, I think is a part and parcel of why these things are happening.
Mm,
People are being driven crazy by this crazy making ideological inversion that we're seeing, where good is bad and bad is good, and man is woman and woman is man, and up is
mm.
down and up, down is up. All of this stuff is part and parcel of this kind of inversion of reality that's underway. And this has a lot to
Michael, we
do.
have to take a short break. Hold the thought. That's a perfect point on which to return about what is really going on here and the extent to which supranational entities are at work in this transformation as well. That and more with Dr. Rechtenwald right after this.